Anatomy Trains is a unique map of the anatomy of connections. Anatomy Trains leads to practical new holistic strategies to improve movement patterns with self-myofascial release. This is from Tom Meyer's website, anatomytrains.com. My name is Muriel. You're listening to the Danish Yoga Podcast, and today's episode is a short and precise one. I interview the leader of an academy which teaches anatomy trains as developed by Tom Meyers. The academy is called Art of Motions, and as always, I will put up links on Yogapodcasten's Facebook page. I hope you enjoy this Q&A on anatomy trains. You could also call it the sound of a better life. Welcome to a special episode of Yogapodcasten. This is going to be a short, precise and informative episode. My guest today is an anatomy expert, a body reader. Welcome to Yogapodcasten, Muriel Morwitzer. And welcome to Denmark.
Thank you.
Is it your first time here?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Hope you'll be coming back.
I hope so too. I really enjoy the country and the people.
Can you present yourself maybe? Like, I'm just calling you an anatomy expert. I know you used to be a dancer.
Yeah.
And that's kind of your entry to anatomy, is it?
It's very nice and humbling that you call me an anatomy expert. I'm sure there's way more equipped people out there with even more anatomy skills, but through my training I have become more interested in anatomy, and as a dancer, not having understood a lot of it and suffered from many injuries, and becoming a contemporary Pilates instructor helped me to understand why I had certain injuries. And then I was introduced through my teacher and the founder of Art of Motion, Karin Gortner. I came to Tom Meyer's work that wrote Anatomy Trains, and from that Karin developed Anatomy Trains in Motion. So I started to understand the interconnections of anatomy. And that's what really started to get me even more interested, because I could see certain things that I wasn't able to fully change in an interconnected system, or why something addressing only the one point that hurt didn't work because its actual point of dis-ease was further up in that line or further down.
So you've lived your whole life in your body, can you say that? Because you used to dance. And then this layer has made it a lot more deeper to you.
Yeah, it's made it more tangible, that I could understand it. So certain things I did out of instinct and intuition, but I couldn't back it up, or even though it felt good, I couldn't logically explain it. And certain things never changed to the degree I wanted to, because I didn't have the understanding of interconnected anatomy. And so that definitely created a big change.
In your life, in general?
In my life, in the way I teach, the successes that I have in my teaching, as in the way of how I can help people, as the pathway has become faster and even more enjoyable, because I can see the success in them and they feel successful. So it's very rewarding. Yeah.
Okay, and you've agreed to a little Q&A. I'm just going to ask you some random anatomy questions, and you'll see where it takes us. Okay?
Sure.
So, of course, I'm very curious about yoga cues. I know there's been some critique of certain yoga cues, like draw the navel towards the spine, and also tucking the tail has been discussed. So what are the common disagreements when you know a lot about anatomy and what we as yoga teachers tend to say?
Yeah, just to let you all know, I am not a yoga teacher, so don't take any offense. But this is really just anatomically and intentionally what we want to achieve. So our cues, wherever we speak, will initiate something. And the more clearly we understand anatomy, the hopefully more clearly the cues come across and where they initiate from.
Yeah.
So if we cue and we want to engage transverse abdominis, part of the center, so with pelvic floor, transverse abdominis should engage. And if we want our center to engage and we say draw the navel back or the belly button back, there's a lot of organ content, the bladder, and even more that will be pushing down onto the pelvic floor to a certain degree. So depending on the anatomy of a person, the navel can be quite high up. So it's more the sense of lifting the pelvic floor upwards and inwards and maybe drawing the very lowest portion of your belly between your hip bones and your pubic bone. You want the abdominal wall to come closer towards the spine. Or like you put on a tight pair of jeans, but you really draw away that lowest portion of your belly towards the spine to engage transverse abdominis more.
So that's what you've tried to say with navel to spine, like when someone's been teaching you. That's what you want to happen, actually. That's the action you want to happen.
Yeah, exactly. So instead of saying the navel to the spine, which in that sense anatomically is too high up, and part of your organ pyramid will push down and put pressure onto your pelvic floor. But at the same time, you're telling them you want to pull the pelvic floor up. So it's like a paradox to a degree.
Do you have other mistakes like that you are aware of and that you would be careful?
I think I'm sure the teachers have the right intention. It's more the more you understand, the more you probably want to change certain cues because it doesn't make sense anatomically.
And like you say, when you are a student and then you listen carefully and then you do it and then it makes sense or it doesn't. So it is very important, the small details of what you're saying. Yeah.
I think a common cue is draw your shoulder blades down and back.
Yeah.
And ideally your shoulder blades are resting and are supported by the rib cage. So if you draw your shoulder blades back, potentially you're going to flare your ribs. And maybe you don't flare your ribs and change your rib cage. Some people will, and some people won't. Yeah. So depending on how you're taught and all the things you're aware of, maybe you're going to try through force to keep your rib cage in neutral, but something in the front will have to engage to balance out the force that you're creating by drawing your shoulder blades back and down. So the shoulder blades should dynamically be stabilized, but not forced down and not forced together, because if you pull them together, your head almost for sure will jut a little bit forward and you will put your neck muscles in the back and other muscles under strain. So then you can sometimes create neck issues, or you're constantly having to put yourself into a posture rather than being at ease. Posture shouldn't be a doing. It should be something that is supported from within, of what we call the deep front line in Tom Meyer's work and Corinne Gortner's work, so that you have the support from within.
Yeah.
So the pelvis needs to be in an upright position to support the rib cage in an upright position, and then your shoulder girdle should just be able to be draped over, so we have freedom of the arms, but not drawing the shoulder blades together, because you will restrict the freedom of your arms.
And when you mention the neck, often I hear people say their neck is hurting. How to hold my head? Is that a common issue as well?
Yeah. So if you literally just sit here and draw your shoulder blades together and down, you will feel the tension in your neck change because you're putting levator scapula, which should be a shoulder blade stabilizer, but attaches to the head, the back of the head. And as it says levator, it elevates also the shoulder blade. You will put that under stretched tension and it's not going to be that happy, and it's not going to be able to stabilize and the shoulder blade as it should, or support the head as it could.
All right, next question. So you talk a whole lot about fascia. What are the purposes of fascia, and what are the lines? I'm supposed to know that, right? It's from the foot to the crown of the head, right?
Yeah, so Tom has created myofascial meridians, which are lines of tension. So lines of force transmission that if you activate them, force can go through them. But they're myofascial lines. So they're lines that have more fascial components and more muscular components. And together they make a myofascial continuum. But fascia is a subcategory of your connective tissue. So it's a communicative, sliding, tensional, gliding system. So things that you would know as fascia are like aponeuroses or the Achilles tendon. Tendons are fascial components. So they're sort of things we know, but fascia is actually everywhere. So every muscle fiber, every nerve sheet, everything is wrapped and interwoven with fascia. So it's the organ that gives us shape. It has a protective component. It has a self-healing component, wound healing. So it's responsible. It's putting positive tension onto our skeleton. So our bones should push out into the connective tissue, and they should tension it positively. So in a very, making it more like a picture, if you think of tent poles, if you don't have the fabric of the tent, the poles just lie on the floor. So if our bones don't get tensioned positively, we're a heap of bones on the floor. So we're not a lever structure, so our bones shouldn't be touching each other in that sense. They should be suspended, so as they push out, the connective tissue or the fascial system positively tensions them. So as Tom calls it, the superficial back line coming from the undersole of your foot, up the back of your body all the way to your eyebrows, or from the top of your foot over the front of your body and your abdominals to the side of your neck, and so forth. There's these different lines. They help put positive tension on our skeleton in that sense.
That's what you call force.
Then it's force transmission goes through it. So as we move, we can put force transmissions through it. So then they can move us. There should be lines of tension and resilience that move us with ease and grace if they're quite balanced.
And you have this term called an international trampoline.
An internal trampoline.
Oh.
I'm like, what's an international trampoline?
Oh, I read it wrong. Oh, yeah, internal. I thought it was international because, everyone has it.
Yes, well, everyone has it, so it's international within your body. So,
internal trampoline. Great.
Internally, those structures of your myofascia should be able to be tensioned and store energy. Just as if you jump on a trampoline, the force that you put on the trampoline, the equal force will
come back
and you jump back up, or it springs you back up. So within your joints, within those myofascial meridians, they should work a little bit like that, so that you can tension them. They store energy, kinetic energy, and then they release it and it recoils you back. So you have them within your joints, within those meridians. Ideally we want to, that's metaphorically speaking, but we want to make use or optimize and bring them back to life in case they're not so much.
But and fascia, that's 70% water, is it?
A lot of the fascia is very water rich. So if you look at it in any dissection or video clips, you can see that it is extremely water rich. So healthy fascia is very hydrated. And it's not hydrated because we drink, and obviously drinking is important, but it is hydrated through movement. So bringing in three-dimensional movements, bringing in movements that tension but then that soften again. With that, you will hydrate your fascia, and it's literally through movement that you have to hydrate it.
Okay, next question. The most common issue, maybe you can just mention the three most common issues that you see people have in their bodies, like maybe an injury or something that keeps hurting.
It's a very hard question.
There must be
because
something
we're
up there
all
on top of the list.
There is, and we could say back pain. But the way our strategy of how we got into that posture will vary. So as different as our noses are, as different are our back pains, even though it might be in the same spot. So you can go, I recognize this is a nose, right?
Yeah.
But my nose looks completely different to yours. So we can go,
what's wrong with yours?
I can, so the person goes, I have the same back pain.
Yeah.
But the area where the back pain is potentially the same, or it feels the same, but the way that person got there, the way their bones aligned, the way their soft tissue rearranged, will be individual to different people.
A lot of people feel lower back pain, right? In the lower back.
Yeah, but some could be because of compression. So the way that their pelvis and the rib cage is in relationship to each other. Others have back pain because they're constantly slouching. They still have back pain in similar areas, but because one is compressive and one is always too much under tension, and it's been, in that sense, overstretched. So, do you know what I mean? It's not an easy question to just answer, and it's absolutely not black and white. I do think that a lot of injuries that we have are in the fascia, more so, and any manual therapist or surgeon or so you talk to, it'll be more fascially than muscularly. So the muscles are the tensioners, they tension the fascia, but the fascia is the force where the force will travel through. So you can train muscles a lot faster than fascia. So fascia, for it to really change, is its predisposition and its architecture, because it's an architecture that is constantly re-changing. It's pushing and pulling, and
that's one of your great points, right? That we can change our bodies.
So fascia is highly plastic. It's highly adaptable. Muscles cannot match the adaptability of fascia. That's really one of the qualities of fascia, and one of the amazing qualities that we so greatly can enhance or make use out of again. So anything that goes one way can most likely go the other way again. Sometimes it went one way over a long period of time, and we live in a society where we want a quick fix. So then we want to go, well, okay, you explained that, you told me that, I want it changed in 3 months. But fascia architecture to fully change, short-term effects you should feel very fast, but long-term, and for that whole architecture to change, will take anything between 6 to 12 months.
But that's pretty quick as well. That's okay. Like if you can say within 1 year my body was changed, that will change. That's fine. Okay. But I've heard you say that fascia can change from the way that you think. If you think differently, then your fascia can change.
So the fascia around your brain will change with the thoughts that you have. So I'm not an expert in that, but obviously you also feel it in your body. Yeah. So if you feel very, if you have more freedom of movement, if you have less pain, you very often have happier thoughts.
Okay,
like if you live, and I'm just coming from a movement perspective. You can literally come from a thought perspective. So obviously if you meditate, or if your outlook on life is very positive, or you give yourself affirmations and you integrate them in your life, it will have an effect on your body. Your body will feel, so you can just address it from one way or the other. But your thoughts do have an effect and do change the fascia around the brain as well. So you can either address it more through movement, you can either address it more through your mental approach, happy thoughts, meditation, or whatever that modality is that you tap into.
Is this why the anatomy of men and women are different? And is it? Or is it just
you mean their thoughts, or like
the anatomy? Is it because of their thoughts are different? Because I know we think differently. Like
I think our brain is wired a little bit differently. You know, like evolution, as I've mentioned, of course, is super slow. They were hunters. They needed to think like that to keep us alive. We were gatherers, and we looked after the children. So naturally, we do think differently.
And so does our body look and can do
it has to be. They don't have to bear children. So for the purpose of evolution and being on this planet, one of us has to have babies. And, we obviously need each other, but evolution is very slow. So as simplistic as it seems, but they were hunters, and we were the gatherers. So even though we have evolved and we want, emancipated men, at the same time we still want a hero that can save us in shining armor. So maybe the women have to think about it as well. What do they want? These poor men must be very confused.
And so is the anatomy, or what? It's kind of reflected like that. It's reflected.
I don't think you can you can look at anatomy as what we're designed to do functionally, as in bearing children, not bearing children, outrunning the tiger that they're chasing or whatever. And we obviously have different hormones. But otherwise, it doesn't mean that their fascia, because of that, is so completely different. So again, it's just their outlook on life, their thoughts, our thoughts that will have an effect on our individual shaping of our fascia.
Okay. I just have a 30-second last question because I know that you do this thing at airports in 30 seconds, and you will read a person's body. You'll go, okay, the 3 positive aspects of this body. Can you do that to me?
Yeah, so
maybe you need to explain what it is.
Yeah, so coming from a dance background, coming from any movement background and manual therapy background, we're very often taught to reduce a person to all the things that are not going well for them. So the shoulder is out, the pelvis is out, and so forth. So it's seeing the potential. All of us come, or all of our clients come to us, and there is potential within them.
Yeah.
So we have these amazing bodies that have gone through all sorts of things, and we all come with a certain amount of potential. Yeah. So retraining that, rather than reducing people, even though we mean it in the best possible way, but reducing to what is not going well for them, to straight away see 3 positives. Yeah. So back in the day, I used to sit at an airport and go, ooh, did you see that person's knees? Or that head's really out. So I've changed it, and I look for people's positives. With that, I have changed the fascia around my brain, because I see people's positives. Even though I had a great intention before, my intention was still to help, but I always reduced them to what wasn't working for them.
And that has huge consequences, right?
It has a thought effect, obviously, and with it, I most likely would have changed my fascia around the brain by looking at the positives. But also, it makes me feel better if people see positives in me.
Yeah.
So it makes our clients feel better about themselves, and they will be a lot more successful.
They are actually more helped, right? Rather than getting a diagnosis and thinking.
And that doesn't mean that afterwards we don't also say where it can be optimized. But it's about optimizing, not fixing someone.
And that part we don't have time for. So we only have time for the 3 positive things in my body. Can you say that? Can you see me? Can you see 3 positive things?
In your body?
Yeah.
You have grounded feet. You have very broad shoulders on a supportive rib cage. And you have you have elongation. You have spark in your body.
Man, it's back. That's great. That's great. I'm so happy. Okay, Muriel, thank you so much.
You're more than welcome.
I'm looking forward to you coming back to Denmark again.
Fantastic. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you leave an iTunes review or post your comments on the Facebook page. That would help me immensely to get the word out there. And remember, you are not just anybody. You are, in fact, much more than your body. However, your body is wild and super intelligent. So turn up the love for your every cell and take care until next time.
Fastest episode ever, I think.
Sometimes it has to be short and sweet.
Yes, and precise. What is it you say? Accurate and what is it?
You've got to be specific to be terrific.
You gotta be specific to be terrific, man. That's it.